€79. First Division Pass from only €49. And Women's National League matches for free. Go to loitv.ie for more.
What's most impressive about the all-new, totally redesigned Dacia Sandero? Is it its generous boot space? Or stylish LED headlights? It's smart media connectivity or comfort designed with you in mind? We think it's all of these things. And still shockingly affordable from €39 a week on the road. The all-new Dacia Sandero, the most affordable new car in Ireland, giving you more for less. Find out more at dacia.ie today. Offer is made under a hire purchase agreement. Deposit required. Payments drawn monthly. Subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply. See dacia.ie.
You ain't shit! I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
Well, fans can be the harshest critics, you know.
And they often are.
A wife is often the harshest critic of her husband.
I thought I was invincible. That's what you're trained to believe as a sports person.
There was 4 million people in Ireland who knew much more about managing football teams than I did. When it comes to music, I can spoof with the best.
Your sporting career is the best time you'll have, and you know you have to hang on to it for as long as you like, because everything else is pretty crappy.
And this is not lies. Stephen Rothschild has never spoken to Jim McGuinness in his life.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 5. You can text us on 53106. We're streaming the conversation as well now. So as well as listening on News Talk, you can watch us on the social channels for Periscope and Twitter at Off the Ball, YouTube, Facebook, and on the OTB Sports app. Search OTB Sports in your app store to download it if you haven't already. This is the Saturday panel. We're going to review the sporting week between now and 2:35 with a broadcaster and accredited sports psychologist, Maire, Treasa, soccer correspondent of the Irish Times, Gavin Cummiskey, and the former Louth senior Gaelic football manager, Wayne Kierans. Maire, Treasa, Gavin and Wayne, how are we all getting on?
Great.
All good, all good. All good.
I'm wearing my Russian top today, folks, because I've got sucked into the vortex of the Euros, which started last night. Gavin, have you been sucked into the vortex yet with Italy and Turkey? Were you on transfer market going through the intricacies?
No, I was too busy watching Djokovic.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Boy, Nadal, I couldn't tear away from it. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So today, you got the Swiss and the Welsh are about to get cracking into each other now. So
that's right, at 2:00. Yeah. But are you bought into this now, Gavin? Are you bought into this feast of football, this carnival over the next month?
I hope it will be. Like, if the last Euros wasn't great, I know it was great for us, but it wasn't great as a spectacle because there's so many poor teams in it. So I'll definitely be engrossed in the knockouts. But hopefully the next few weeks are going to be what we want, you know.
Yeah, more Treasa. Are you sucked into it?
Oh yeah, I was sucked in. I was saying it this morning. I was sucked in as soon as Andrea Bocelli began to sing. That was me, like, totes emotion. It brought me back to, like, way back when, like, my first ever football memory would be that song of Italia 90. Like, I've no memory of the actual football that happened in the year, but it's mad how music just stays in you and it comes out and it just brings back all those magical feelings. And you just kind of hope that, yeah, the Euros live up to what we really needed to be, because there isn't much else going on, you know, in the world we're living in at the moment. We need it.
It was symbolic, wasn't it, as well, that it would be in Italy, wouldn't it, more Treasa? Because that's where there was so much pain and so much tragedy at the start of this pandemic. And if it feels that we're coming out of it, it was apt, it was fitting that it was in Rome and it was Bocelli singing last night, I thought.
Yeah, actually, that's a pretty deep thought that I never thought of, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, when you think about it, we were watching Italy in the horrible throes of that first devastating wave of COVID, horrified, thinking, is that going to come to our shores? And really, when you think about it in really horrible black and white terms, they did us a favour. They showed us what to expect, and we possibly prevented a lot of deaths as a result. So, yeah, it's great to see the beginning of a new horizons and a new day and a new world, hopefully beginning to dawn with that beautiful voice and that beautiful music. And I think what struck me was that I know we're supposed to be talking about the football, but the opening ceremonies are such a part of this, and normally they're such a letdown. But this had to be simple, and it was so effective as a result.
Rating opening ceremonies. Yeah, they're generally awful. I remember it was Robbie Williams at the World Cup in Russia, wasn't it? And Wayne, have you got the sticker album yet? Have you been go down the shop and spend a bit of money on the sticker album and pretending it's for your kids?
I haven't got the sticker album yet, John, but yeah, I'm definitely suckered into it. There's no doubt about that. I really enjoyed it last night. It was great to get it underway after all the hype and the build-up and stuff. And I thought it was a great game. I know Turkey's sort of frustrated Italy for long periods, but I thought Italy were very impressive. So they're certainly somebody to watch as the tournament goes on. But I can't wait to watch all the games. It's obviously a pity that we don't have any home involvement, but you can't have everything.
What are you most interested in looking at, Gavin, over the next while?
I England, obviously. Just England, Croatia is just going to grab everybody now, I think, you know. It's funny that you're taking some of the topics when I talk about how much we love to hate England. I don't really feel that way. I love them to go far in the tournament so we can enjoy what happens in the semi-finals to them every time, you know. So, but like I don't feel, a lot of people feel I don't know bitterness to watching Jack Grealish or Declan Rice. I'm really fascinated to watch them, to see how they go, and I think they can be a great lesson for us about how we do our recruitment, how the FAI does their recruitment going forward. Like they should be the lesson that we don't make again, because there will be other things. But England, yeah, how can we not be compelled by them? They don't even know their own team yet, you know. Yeah,
like Harry Maguire might now be fit, which would mean they would play fourth and back tomorrow, which would mean that it would change everything. That is just completely, like, you know, with Mancini, you knew that Mancini has the whole thing sorted and worked out last night, and it's 28 wins in a row now, and however limited Italy might be in terms of flair, you know what you're going to get. I can't believe, in a way, that England, we still don't know 24 hours out from the game tomorrow, is Mount going to play, is Grealish going to play, is Foden going to play in the same team? It's absolutely fascinating. Like, I'm quite positive about England. I would feel that I support Harry Kane every week. Why would I be hypocritical not to support him if he plays for his country? I know we've had the whole 800 years thing, more Treasa, but I'm wishing England well.
I'm convinced someday he'll do an episode of Who Do You Think You Are, and they'll find out we're related. My granny was a Kane and we're from the same end of the country. So, you know, I'll claim this man if he wins things and it turns out to be related to me. But no, it's weird. This is a likeable England team, and I think it's the first England team I've liked, and I think a lot of that comes from Southgate, I think. Even despite all the controversy and the Irish trauma about the likes of Grealish, I don't know what it is. I like them more than any other English team that I've ever seen playing, and I like to see how far they go. And I'm kind of looking forward to the inevitable Greek tragedy at the end of it. And it's not because they're England, but it's because they're England, if that makes sense. The story they've always had, that they've always built themselves up so much. But the thing is, this time round, they've been built up, and they do have the firepower up in front. But does that mean they're going to lose it in defence? I don't know. I don't know what it is. Will I cheer for them? No. Will I be sad for them? No. Will I say, if they go on and win the thing, will I say fair play to them? No, but I'll probably watch. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how I feel.
Wayne, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think you mentioned the right word there earlier, John. It's a bit being hypocritical, like, because I don't really want them to do well. I think that rivalry is good and it's healthy, but you know, at the same time, I want Jordan Henderson to do well, because, you know, he's my club captain. So if Trent was there, I'd want Trent to do well, or any other Liverpool player. I remember many years ago when they beat Germany 5-1 and everybody was away. You know, I was delighted because it was all Liverpool players that scored. So if you're aware that you are hypocritical towards them, you just have to live with that. But I wouldn't be bitter. I'd be like the rest of the guys. I wouldn't be bitter about Rice or Grealish, and you know, I think Maire Treasa hit the nail on the head. They are likable because of Southgate. I think he's the most affable England manager that they had. And plus, I think he's a very good England manager, and he's created a brilliant culture, and and the other point that you made, John, the fact that nobody knows what their team is or what shape they'll play tomorrow, I think that's a positive thing, because he has shown that they can be flexible. So I'm looking forward to watching them, but maybe I don't really want them to win it.
If they're in the final, Gavin, England and France, will you be cheering for England?
I'd be cheering for France.
Cheer for France.
That would be because of family, relatives and all that. But no, I'm never going to cheer for England. Why would I? You know, they're not going to cheer for us. But it doesn't. I'm not going to take any joy in their failure, because that says more about us than it does about them. If we remain, well, we can't help it. We're going to be a bit petty about it. But no, I don't find them that likeable. And Southgate doesn't do too much for me. He is a good coach, but no, I'm sure they'll once they get going, because this is such a good team. It's their best chance to win a tournament since '96, I think. And once they get going, they will become so unbearable. Not necessarily the players or the group, but everything around them will become unbearable. And we will find it funny if they slip up. But this team. This is the first time that I can remember, maybe 2018, the argument can be made, but this is the first time where they really should win this tournament. They have the team to win this tournament. So that's their standards. That's where if they are in a final against France, I think France are the only team that are better than them, you know, when we put the two of them out together. players. So yeah, but definitely cheer for France in the final.
It'll be fascinating, more Treasa, to see if there's boos tomorrow. I expect there will be.
I expect there will be too, and that's exactly why it's very difficult to cheer on this England team, because the show around them is so unbearable. The newspapers, the coverage, the lads, fans, the type of fan I'm talking about. They're just unbearable people. Not all their fans, obviously, but the subsect I'm talking about. They're loud. They're just not nice. They celebrate. They haven't achieved much, but they have a lot to say, and that's just really annoying. But I think the boos will happen, and it shows more up them rather than the players, and it shows up kind of a sector of, I suppose, Britishness that has been going for the last few years, that culminated in Brexit, and we're still dealing with the ramifications of that today. That people may say that's very glib and a very broad, sweeping analysis of it, but I think the same people who were booing were probably the same ones who voted for Brexit, and to have that kind of mentality, and it's not nice. And yeah, it's for that kind of reason that they're very hard to get on board with, I think.
Yeah, it's a shame in a way that an anti-racism statement should become a political football for the next month. I'm fascinated. I do think there'll be boos tomorrow. We had that open letter from Southgate. Michael Walker wrote a nice piece about it today in your paper, Gavin. You had Viktor Orban coming out the other day and depressingly defending the Hungarian supporters who booed the Irish players for taking a knee before the match. You can't separate politics and sport, unfortunately, and that's what we're going to see in the next few weeks.
Well, the Viktor Orban statement was very predictable, Yeah. I thought Stephen Kenny showed people who mightn't know him that well a lot about who he is with the way he handled the post-match stuff. And they put up Cheallaigh and they put up Adamida, and the way Kenny spoke. Like, a lot of people would have been writing a mildly critical 800, 900 words about the last month of him in charge. But because he took control of that situation and just directly, sitting in a room full of Hungarians in a Hungarian stadium in Budapest, just accused them of being racist, just accused their fans of being racist and saying how unacceptable it is. And I've always been pretty impressed by Stephen Kenny, but how he handled that post-match after the game I thought was great, because you can pretend it's a nuanced conversation when people boo other people taking a knee to protest anti-racism. You can pretend that you can say, oh, it's okay. I'm just sick of it because it's been going on for so long, or I can't be racist because I have black friends. We can do all that and pretend it's nuanced. But if you're booing people taking a knee for such an important moment in society, it's, to me, and Kenny touched on it as well, it's overwhelmingly and shockingly racist. And we are probably going to see it. I'm really, really interested to see if we see it when there's 2 matches in the Aviva Stadium in September, when Azerbaijan and Serbia come, to see how Irish fans, like, again, it's going to be a small section, but there is in England, we know it's evident in Italy, we know it's evident in Hungary, we know it's evident all around. But yeah, it was a timely reminder what happened in Budapest, I thought, for us, because the English have had to cope with this as well a lot. But yeah, I thought it was really important how Stephen Kenny dealt with it. So there was absolutely no, he didn't leave it any way open for people to argue and go, well, maybe we shouldn't take a knee. Maybe it's not the right way about it. I think it is the right way about it. And I think we can, there is grey areas, but I think it's black and white. When people boo people making a protest like that, it's racism in its purest form.
And he was also protective of his players as well. That's the key thing here.
It was brilliant what he did. And he put them up, it was good. People might have got to know Cheallaigh Ogbene. I did a piece about, there was almost I think there was 4 Irish lads of Nigerian descent in his squad. And it could have been 6, could have been 7. And there will be more in the next while. But for this camp, and I decided to interview all their coaches, Ogbene's coach, Andrew Omabamdiele, Gavin Bazunu's, the Rovers guys and all that. And funnily enough, with Cheallaigh Ogbene, I said I won't interview a football coach of his as a kid. I'll interview Robbie O'Dwyer, who's the Nemo Rangers mentor, Mick O'Dwyer's son, about him. And because I know he had, for a couple of years there, he was just, Nemo just thought they had, Cork, Gaelic football just thought they had this unbelievable superstar. And the way Robbie was talking about him, sounds like you're describing Brian Fenton here. And he goes, no, I'm serious, Gavin. You should have seen him. You should have seen what he was about to do for us. As a 17, 18-year-old playing under 21s for Nemo, And they were distraught to lose him because they felt like they had something that could bring Cork football back to where they like to think they should be, That I found that fascinating.
Bit like Satanta for the hurling. And Sean Oak, but I shouldn't really say this. He spoke so well as well after the game, Chidozie, about the whole thing, and so
I think he's a huge character. I really hope we get to see more of him, maybe as this kind of cult hero impact sub, because his pace can just cause so much. Wayne would be great on it as well, just to see what he's like or his potential. He is 24 already, but he's just so electric. Just as some kind of a Roman winger that comes in when we need something that teams aren't ready for. But yeah, if you could hear him, I hope that went far and wide, his interviews post-match, because he completely, when he's a professional footballer who's lived a bit of a life outside of that bubble, and he seems to know himself, and he's, charisma and decency kind of comes off him when he spoke. My impression of.
Yeah, the first African-born player to play for the senior team. And Wayne, do you get the sense, as a soccer fan, I know you're GA coach, that Stephen Kenny's methods as a football manager are beginning to bear fruit, or is the jury still very much out? Once we've had a Luxembourg, that the taste of it is still in their mouths.
No, I think they are starting to bear fruit. You have to remember, in the extremely difficult circumstances Stephen started, notwithstanding all the injuries and the health of the squad, but with all the COVID situation as well. So it was always going to be difficult. But with that, thrown on top of him and thrown at Stephen, it was always going to take 10 games plus to see put his stamp on the team. But I agree with Gavin. The way he did handle the situation in Hungary last week was excellent. And the word he actually used in relation to the booing by the Hungarian fans was incomprehensible. And he's right. And I think, on the situation or on the issue of Black Irish players playing for Ireland, that Stephen Kenny will create a really safe environment for those players. And, your question was, is coaching methods starting to bear fruit? They are. And, the two results, well, look, they're not spectacular results. Andorra and Hungary, a 0-0 draw and a 4-1 win. You need to give the man time. And when he gets a fully healthy squad, and the games in September now are going to be important, the Azerbaijans and your Portugals and the other games. So I think, I'm confident Stephen will do a good job.
We got a text in here on 53106 for the Saturday panel. Hi, John. Johnny Lou's piece in The Guardian today gives an excellent view on how conflicted some English are about supporting their national team. Looking at the way that country has lurched in recent years, it is very difficult to support them, says Robbie and Nina. Lads, stop with the England. They've got a great chance. They don't. They're decent, nothing more. They're a young squad and a hard group. The fans think they'll win the trophy. One bad game, it'll all fall apart. And Scotland have one goal. Stop England. 3 Lions out in the group stage, says David James on Twitter. Don't know if that's the former goalkeeper from Liverpool. The Scots and the Welsh, Maire Treasa, would you have your jock hat on, or would you be supporting the Scots?
Well, see, this is the mad thing, you see. I suppose it's not mad at all. It makes complete sense. If the Scots and the Welsh looked like they were gathering any kind of momentum, wouldn't you row in behind them and you'd start finding, tartan from wherever you had it. You would be fully bought into it. And I don't know why, because, again, I think of Scotland, I would associate a lot of that with Rangers, and they wouldn't be a team that I would be thinking, I want to get bandwagon behind these people. So it's mad how, even though we've just been criticising the English and their national identity, obviously we're allowing our own Irish identity cloud our own opinions on other teams as well. And I don't see it happening. What the hell do I know, I suppose, but it'd be fun to have a Scottish, I think, bandwagon to get on board with. But I don't know. I mean, I still think Scotland's best moment or worst moment or most highlighted moment in the Euros goes all the way back to 96. They'll never surpass that.
What, the Paul Gascoigne goal against them?
Yeah, that is my first Euro memory that I have that's imprinted in my mind. And I remember I would have been in Rangacuig or Rangashay, and my parents having to explain lots of different things to me about the dentist chair and how they were bold boys and they went out drinking and all this kind of stuff.
You never did that in your subsequent life, Maire Treasa, no?
I'm not saying I didn't do it in my subsequent life, but I wasn't at it in Rangacuig.
Yeah.
But it's weird, isn't it, how if they got any kind of run, would we get behind them? We probably would. Do I know why? No. I suppose it's just 800 years, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, Gavin, I know you got a long rugby background. Certainly their rugby unions don't back Ireland anyway, I can tell you that.
No.
No, they didn't vote for them for the World Cups. They got sorted out by the French or something. But wouldn't it be amazing if Grealish went and brought back, did a Gaza on whoever the Scottish centre-back is and scored a similar goal at Wembley in the game that launches England's whole campaign? It's very possible. I think Scotland will bring the best out of England. I think that's what they'll do, because they're just never going to. Imagine Scotland turning them over at Wembley it would be worse than Stuttgart, you know.
It would be like back to '77 when they were taking down the goalposts when they beat them in that home nations. I think they call them.
This England team is, if they can just get the team right for that game, I think that'll be they'll be so switched on for that. Like, they just can't let that happen, you know. I don't think there'll be a shock there. I'd be more worried that Croatia could beat them, but I don't think the Scots will. I think they'll show up for that match.
Wales play Switzerland at 2 o'clock in Azerbaijan, of all places. Well, it'll be Phil Foden, won't it, Wayne, who'll do the dance's chairs, because he's got the haircut now he got the straw haircut.
If he was trying to slip into the tournament unnoticed, I think it was a bad decision to get the haircut done, because instantly the Gaza talk started. But he's an unbelievable player, he really is. And I think the whole, you know, he can play in the front three, he can play in the midfield three. I think, you know, but as you said, we still don't know whether he's going to start. But I think he will. I think he will start, and he's going to be a massive player for them. He's an exceptional talent.
It's all set up for that last 16 as well. They're going to play, if they win the group, they'll play the runner-up of France, Germany, or Portugal. It could all end up very, very badly, very early.
Yeah, well, but you see, you know, that original last 16 game was supposed to be one of the Dublin games, so it might have been difficult enough for them to come to Dublin, you know, considering the hostilities that we had with them over the years. But the fact that that's moved to Wembley now, you know, the carrot is really there to win the group, and it doesn't, I suppose, the opposition are going to have in the last 16 are going to be very strong either. It's likely going to be France, Germany, or Portugal. So, but the fact that it's at Wembley is a massive, massive difference. So it is set up for them to do well, but I still don't think they have the quality all round the pitch that the likes of France, Portugal, and the likes of Italy showed last night. Their intensity. So be interesting to see.
Can you see Greece coming out of this 2014 tournament, Gavin? Is there any overachievers in your thinking?
No, I think the best teams will. I think the cream will rise to the top. There's too much quality in the major nations. Italy were interesting last night. I did catch the highlights. There's some of the parts. Some of the parts team like a Germany or an Italy could do something, but I firmly think that last 16 game, whether it's England against Portugal or England against France or even Germany, will justify everything. And like, even if we have a bit of a dour period, if there's a few games in Azerbaijan or whatever that just don't catch, and there's too many nil-nillers, and the last round of group matches could be very stale because people could be just seeing out draws to scrape through. But that game the tournament will explode, and there's no doubt about whoever it is that England are facing. And I do think the England won't slip up. They will definitely get there. But then it gets a very squeaky bum, you know. It's actually very hard not to qualify for the last 16. Like,
yeah.
We managed it.
Yeah, we exactly, we managed it. And Portugal won the last tournament, and in the group stage, they had 3 draws, the 3 points. You know, so they went through as a third place qualifier. So you'd want to have a disaster. If one of the big guns is to fall, they'd have to have a real disaster. So even though like that France, Germany, Portugal is the quintessential group of death, none of them's going to die. I think they'll be okay. They're going to qualify for the last 16. So, and you wouldn't be surprised if the winner comes from that group. So, yeah, you know, it's another reason why it's a pity we're not there, because we would have had a decent chance of getting to the last.
And we would have had a great time as well. We got to take a break. We'll be back after the news. Wayne Kierans, Gavin Cummiskey, and Maire Treasa on the Saturday panel reviewing the week. You want to get in touch? You can text us on 53106. We're back after the news on Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk.
The Saturday panel on Off the Ball.
We're funny creatures as humans. Impulsive, stubborn. We procrastinate for eternity and make decisions on a whim. Can we ever say with complete certainty where our choices are going to take us? Just remember, once in a while, we get it right.
You'll never take a wrong turn with Toyota, the world's best-selling hybrid electric cars. Toyota, built for a better world. Claim source EV volumes and industry data. See toyota.ie/verification.
Citizens Information is here to help you navigate the changes in your life, offering advice and information on everything from social welfare and tenants' rights to getting back to work. Even when things get complicated, we can support you and make sure your voice is heard. Our service is free, confidential and available nationwide. Visit citizensinformation.ie or call 0761 074000. Citizens Information, a source you can trust. Funded and supported by the Citizens Information Board.
Now at Power City, save €200 when you purchase any of the Whirlpool range of large capacity 4-door fridge freezers. The Whirlpool Jupiter range is frost-free and comes with a 5-year warranty. For more information, visit powercity.ie.
Sean, what's that thing going round the garden?
That is our new Husqvarna Auto Mower.
Auto mower?
Yeah, it's a robotic lawnmower from Husqvarna. Cuts the grass automatically, has GPS tracking and an app. Even works in the rain. I just thought, why spend time cutting grass when I could spend it with the family?
Great! You can put the dinner on, so...
No can do, love. Have to paint the man cave.
Husqvarna Auto Mower. Never mow again. Learn more at husqvarna.ie. Watch the SSE Airtricity Premier Division, First Division and Women's National League action live with the brand new LOI TV Season Pass. The League of Ireland's exclusive HD streaming service returns with live commentary at home, on the go or wherever you are. Sign up now for your LOI TV Premier Division Pass from just €79. First Division Pass from only €49 and Women's National League matches for free. Go to loitv.ie for more.
So, I hear you're coming back. It's been a while. Some of those nights we spent together, birthdays, St. Patrick's Day, Christmas, we put the world to right, watched cup finals, and in the middle of the biggest match, you'd flick over to the 4:15 from Fairy House. So many memories. I miss dancing with 2 left feet to DJ Vinyl Richie or whatever he was called. I've missed that fire in your hearth. I know I took you for granted. I never thought you'd leave. I can't wait to see you again and say those 3 little words. 2 Heineken, please.
Let's get back together. Heineken supporting the LVA and the VFI. Here's to fresh beginnings. Enjoy Heineken responsibly. Visit drinkaware.ie.
After last year, you're probably 93% sure you need a kitchen and bathroom refresh, 87% sure you want a garden revamp, and crucially 99% sure you'll be welcoming guests again soon. Good thing the Tile Style sale has 40% off almost all tiles and 20% off bathrooms and wood flooring. That's incredible savings on the latest collections, including Porcelanosa and Cars of Sweden. So you'll be 100% happy with your home. Shop in store or online at tilestyle.ie. Terms and conditions apply.
Last year, National Lottery players raised over €254 million to support good causes all across Ireland. You make this possible. The National Lottery.
Welcome to Go Loud Jazz, the new home for jazz music in all its forms. Big band, bebop, smooth, and everything in between. Featuring a mix of new tunes and famous tracks by legendary artists, from Monk and Davis, Parker and Coltrane, to Ella and Billy. Go Loud Jazz. Fascinating rhythms. Download the Go Loud app now for free. Go Loud. Podcasts, radio, and music to your ears.
With a 395-kilometre range, the 100% electric Renault Zoe E-Tech is designed to go wherever life takes you. Feel that freedom again with the Renault Zoe E-Tech. From €89 a week with 0% finance, 3-year servicing, free home charger and no fuel costs. For a 24-hour test drive delivered to your door, book at Renault.ie today. Renault Zoe, #1 electric car in Europe. Offer is made under a hire purchase agreement. Deposit required subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply. See Renault.ie.
At Betfair, we know how it feels when you're in the moment, in the heat of the match, and you decide to hit cash out. Only to find cash out is suspended and you're frozen out of your bet. That's why when you bet fair this Euros, you can cash out when you want, with no suspensions on match odds. We won't freeze you out of your bet, because we're Betfair.
Applies to sportsbook match odds markets on Euro Elite Football. Excludes free bets, exchange bets, bet builder, odds on that and bet settlement window. T's and C's apply. 18+. See gamblingcare.ie. Please gamble responsibly.
On radio, on the News Talk app powered by Go Loud, and smart speaker. Play News Talk.
across Ireland. This is the IMRO Radio Awards National Station of the Year. This is News Talk.
It's 2 o'clock. I'm Stephen Murphy. Stobart Air has announced it's ceasing all flights with immediate effect and is going into liquidation. 12 Aer Lingus regional routes and 480 jobs are impacted by the decision, which the airline blames on a failed takeover and the COVID pandemic. Impacted passengers are being told to check the Aer Lingus website about refunds and rebookings. The Transport Minister, Eamon Ryan, says the announcement is concerning and that work is underway to restore connectivity to the affected regional airports. Sinn Féin Donegal TD Pierce Doherty says an interim operator needs to be found quickly.
I have been in contact with Minister Eamon Ryan and I've discussed this with him this morning, and it's crucial that there is an interim appointment to this service so that there is as little as possible disruption.
The British Prime Minister is calling for compromise on all sides over the implementation of the Northern Ireland Protocol. Boris Johnson's been meeting with European counterparts, including the French President, at the G7 summit in Cornwall. Emmanuel Macron urged him to stand by the terms of the Brexit deal, including the area covering trade between Britain and the North. UK Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab has told the BBC that the EU needs to be more pragmatic in its approach.
The answer is for the Northern Ireland Protocol in its entirety, in its letter and its spirit, to be properly implemented. That is all we ask for. So we would argue that the threat to both the Northern Ireland Protocol, also the Good Friday Agreement, is coming from the one-sided approach that the EU has taken.
Gardaí in Waterford City say they're investigating after pride flags were taken down and set alight overnight. Officers were alerted to the incident at the Mall after 8 this morning. The flags were raised in the area on Wednesday, replacing pride flags that had been destroyed last weekend. Here's Councillor Damien Gagan.
The reality is that the people who are carrying out these attacks, they're not representing anybody really. You know, the vast majority of people in Waterford are happy to see those pride flags flying. Any decent-minded person is absolutely appalled by what has happened.
And finally, a lemur is missing from an animal centre in County Wicklow after a fire broke out early this morning. 2 lemurs were set free in order to save them as the blaze began to spread to their enclosure at Copeswood Aviaries in Kilmechanic. One of the animals has been captured, while the other, a 7-year-old male, is still missing. The business, which supplies animals to film productions, has been busy working on Disney's Disenchanted movie, currently being filmed in Enniskerry. It's 2 minutes past 2.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Surprise Dad with a Ryanair gift card this Father's Day.
Warm, humid and mostly dry this afternoon with a mix of cloud and sunny spells. Highest temperatures 19 to 23 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Saturday Panel on Off the Ball.
This is Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 5. You can text us 53106, tweet us at Off the Ball. We're back with the Saturday Panel, reviewing the sporting week just gone with the broadcaster and accredited sports psychologist Maire Treasa, soccer correspondent of the Irish Times Gavin Cummiskey, and the former Louth senior Gaelic football boss Wayne Kierans. We're streaming the conversation as well, so you can listen to us on News Talk, but also watch us on the digital and social channels for Off the Ball. For Periscope on Twitter at Off the Ball, YouTube, Facebook, and on the OTB Sports app. If you haven't downloaded our great app yet, do so by searching OTB Sports in your app store. Wales and Switzerland have just kicked off in the Euros in Group A in Baku, both teams taking the knee beforehand, and Gareth Bale in the Wales team. Just some text here on 53106. As one of my friends said, people support English clubs, pay to go to the grounds, buy their merchandise, but don't support the national team. By the way, I'm Scottish-born Celtic supporter, so this does not apply to me. And hi, John, England are never tested in qualifying. That's why they always come a cropper in major tournaments. I'm hoping they'll get knocked out in the group stage, but I'll be happy with Germany, Portugal or France chinning them in the last 16 at the home of football, says Scouse Paddy on 53106. You can get in touch with us on that text number with any opinions or questions for the panel. Let's talk about the Gaelic leagues, because this is just really, it kind of frustrates me when I see you have the situation where Tyrone and Dublin have to win today for a league final to actually happen. Then the championship itself is knockout, no second chances, so Donegal could be out of the championship in a couple of weeks' time. Look, there's been a pandemic. It's been not easy for the GA. They did a brilliant job last year with the championship, and the lovely stories with Cavan and Tipperary and that, and having the hurling final, Limerick and Waterford and Dublin Mayo then in December. I'm just frustrated with the whole structure. Wayne Kierans, are you?
Yeah, I am frustrated with the structure, John, but the issue of possibly having no finals is not really the thing for me. It's it's the issue of promotion and relegation over just 3 games. Okay, there might not be a final in Division 1 tomorrow, but the promotion, the relegation, it's sorted with the relegation playoffs. If you look at the situation in Division 2 South with the likes of Kildare, Clare and Cork, all 3 of them had 4 points. So Cork missed out in promotion because of score difference over 3 games. So listen, as you said, I know it's crazy times and we're lucky to be playing football at all in some respects, but I would have more issue with the fact that, you're deciding counties the following season where they're playing and their National League status on 3 games rather than, having no final.
No Division 2 final either, Maire, Treasa. The whole thing just seems a bit silly to me. The Championship is what it's all about, and the teams won't even get a second chance in the Championship.
Yeah, and I suppose as somebody who, works in this field, people say, of course you would say this, but I just feel that in football in particular, it's particularly cruel. Knockout football, I thought we had evolved a bit more, like at least hurling gets another bite of the cherry, and I think that's important. Obviously, that's a by factor as well of it being better organised. There's structures, there's divisions, and that probably makes it a bit easier timing wise. And obviously, I think you've all articulated really well the challenges the GAA face. So it's not a criticism of the GAA per se. When I say I really wish that the football championship had been imagined in a different way. I just think it's very cruel to one go and you're out, because these teams are training, even they were training alone, and that's so hard. Well, the vast majority of them were training alone. It is so hard to do that on your own, to stay motivated during those horrible cold winter months. When, by the way, let's not forget, we were all under severe either financial pressure, psychological pressure. There were people who got sick, people who had relatives who got sick, people who lost people, and these footballers managed to keep ploughing on throughout that. And I just think it's very cruel that, in a few weeks' time, people are going to go out, play one game, and they're going to be gone. And I don't think that should be a reflection of let's face it, probably a year's work at this point, because the championship last year went so late. And I know it threw up last year the wonderful stories of Tipperary and Cavan, and those teams and those counties are going to remember that day for the rest of their lives. But there has to be a better way, I think, to reward and to create opportunities like this than knockout football. You just think we'd have evolved a bit better by now, if that makes sense. I just think it's an awful shame, and even as a fan, especially this year, and we can't really go anywhere, and we're kind of stuck on this island. And look, let's face it, there's many other places that'd be much worse than being on the island of Ireland. But we had more time and flexibility, I feel, to have a more comprehensive championship in football, while also not damaging the club structure, which is also vitally important. And I suppose that's the problem, isn't it? Trying to keep everyone happy.
Yeah, and it just seems there's a calendar cut-off point around this, which just seems a bit to me to be a bit like we went till December last year in the whole fabric of the GAA calendar in its entirety. Like, Gavin, I can't understand. Like, the Hurling Eagle just finished this weekend; it'll just finish. Whereas you could have had round robin matches in Leinster and Munster that would have meant a lot more than this hurling league. That to me means nothing.
One of the things I did last year when I was reporting every day on pandemic issues and collapsing of sports and all that, I was like, I think there's a responsibility on journalists not to be kicking organisations over stuff that's COVID organised. It's happening. The situation is the way it is because of what we're going through for the first time in 100 years. So on that front, yeah, look, it's really messy that there's no league final in football, and it's an awful shame that it's knockout as well. But if ever they've had an opportunity to actually properly get their structures in gear, it's been the last year. And what we should see in 2022 is they've had so much time. And I know this is the eternal debate about structures and about how the GAA runs their shop and how we break it up. But again, it just comes back to like Leinster Championship. Does anyone care? The Ulster Football Championship will be brilliant, of course. But it's really perilous again this summer. Like, it just takes a high ball from a Cork player to ruin the championship, you know what I mean, to stop him. Like, fairness to Cork, to their undying credit, they were brilliant to knock them out, but what did they do straight after, you know? So, and like not having Kerry in the business end last year, you know, it was left it all on poor Mayo's shoulders again to stop the Dubs. So, yeah, that could easily happen again. Like, Dublin could get caught, you know, which everyone would love. But I don't think we should... I personally don't think we should be complaining too much about how messy this all is at the moment. But if we haven't kind of taken the leap that just really needs to happen for a summer of football, one thing that always annoys me is the championship never. If you look at every other sport in the world, when they start NBA playoffs, whatever it is, they always start with a bang. There's always a blockbuster fixture to get the whole thing going. Be it the Premier whatever it is. And the GAA Championship never does this. Now, this year it might actually change it a little bit, but it's just the slow pace of it. We should be going, look, here we are. This is what we have, and just start with a bang. And at least they're doing that. But the reason why, if there's no league football final, that's because they want to make sure that the first Ulster matches are, it does fairness on player welfare. So, no, I just don't think we can. Like, the only people that you can be kind of really critical for how they've handled their structures in COVID is like the Rainbow Cup, as like it's just a bad joke.
Yeah. I had it on the sheet here. The Rainbow Cup is a joke, isn't it? And I think you've answered that question.
Yeah, it's not a funny joke. No. It's now I haven't been reporting on rugby for the last couple of months because I moved into soccer, but I haven't watched a single game because I don't care. Like, after the Champions Cup final, like, there was nothing in it to entice us. And unfortunately, like, the only thing I've learned from the Rainbow Cup is you don't pour petrol on a fire. That was it. That was the only lesson that we've seen in the last while. Like, one of the things is they kind of, unfortunately, they've gotten the final that the organisers deserve. It's going to be Treviso. If it is Treviso and a South African team without Springboks. Now, it just means that they completely have to sort themselves out. But sorry, I've got into rugby when we're talking about GAA. I apologise.
I think, Gavin, I think you make a good point. I'm sure there's broadcast and sponsorship reasons why you have to have the league.
It's purely financial, yeah.
But to me, like, by the time next year comes around, Wayne Kierans, I want to see the provinces in the spring. Look, the GA is such a complex organisation that, just to have a wish is something that can often not really turn into reality. But to have the provinces in the spring as a competition in itself, but to have actually a league championship, because I do think for Division 3 and 4 teams, like the one you manage, Louth, actually the league is more important for these teams because you can actually play 6 or 7 games, win a trophy at the end of it against teams of a similar standard, and then be progressed then through the leagues if you can. But for counties to have only one match in the summer, I'm hoping that, look, I don't know if the Super 8's really worked. Obviously, there is definitely a tier now where when you're looking at football, you're probably thinking that Dublin, Kerry, Mayo, Tyrone, Donegal, not many teams beyond that Cork can win an All-Ireland a given year. Galway maybe as well in that conversation. But by the time next year comes around, we hopefully will have a better position that we're in now.
Yeah, well, hopefully we will. But I don't see the format that I would wish to see happening because I think for to get the competition to start with a bang, like Gavin suggested, the provincials will have to go. What Leinster will have to go. So if you remove the Leinster Provincial Championship, well, what do you do with the rest of them? I personally, and I've always said this, would like to see the groups, the Euro Championship or the World Cup style group stage championship, where you have your top 2 teams, seeds 1 and 2. You have your Division 3 team and Division 4 team, seeds 3 and 4. So you get the best of both worlds. You get games where the lower teams can be competitive in, and you will get the big games. You imagine the equivalent of a Portugal, Germany, France group in Gaelic football. It'll be fantastic, and I think that's the way forward. But because of the way the association is set up and the provincial councils holding so much power and the money associated with provincial championship, I don't think they will ever remove that. But I certainly think that's the way to brighten up and to liven up the football championship, because at the moment we know what happens in Leinster. Okay, the rest of them are competitive relatively, and it's becoming more dire and dire as the years go on.
Take it out of, as was said there, take the provincial championships out of summer, because they're not, well, Ulster Championship aside, they're not as they shouldn't be the things that you're branding your whole sport on. I think the broadcasters have a big thing to do with this as well, because again, when we look at every other sport, it's the broadcasters are pumping so much money in that they demand that they can produce something for the public to be engrossed by. The Super 8, one of the best sporting events I think I've been to in the last few years was the Monaghan-Kerry match up in Clonus. It was 2 years ago now.
David Clifford,
yeah. Excellent. Yeah.
When Donny and Clifford did a bit of Kobe and Shaq for just for one summer, we were thinking, God, it would be great to get a couple of years of this. That's what the GAA Championship should look like. Those games, 3 or 4 of those games, right through the summer, and because then you can hold it up. Again, we go all the way back to the 91 Dublin Meath thing was brilliant because it showed you, okay, you got Italy 90, you got hysteria around soccer in the country, but then the GAA came back with And it only came back with it in something that was comparable as a spectacle, as entertainment, because it was draws and replays. So yeah, I'd love to be like the buzz of going to Clonus with Kerry people walking in is something so uniquely Irish, that's what we want to see. That's what I'd love to see every week.
But the Dubs would love to be on the road as well. The Dubs would embrace it. They'd love to be going out to Thurles. Sure, we were doing a week of nostalgia around 2001 a couple of weeks ago, and ahead of a Dublin Kerry game. You'd love to see Dublin going to Killarney if you had a group stage, or you had I don't know, some kind of group scenario like a league championship in the summer, getting people around the country. Okay, the attendances are smaller. If you get to semi-finals, final, have them in Croker, but before that, more Treasa, why not?
I don't think the attendances would be smaller if there was something appetising to go to.
But just in terms of the capacity, what I meant, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, capacity, yeah. But, but make it more exclusive. That's the thing, isn't it? Give you a product to go on the road with. And I hate to use the word product around Gaelic games, but when you're talking about advertising and sponsorship, that is what it is. And also, it would definitely help level the playing field a bit, because I don't care what anybody says, when you're moved away from your own comfort zone, it does take a little bit away from you, because you're not having your average routine, and you have to factor in so many other things into your preparation, which, let's face it, for the most part Dublin don't have to do. And I'm not saying that's why they've won all they've won, but it's certainly one small factor in a field of lots of different factors. But I do think, like that game, you just brought back so many memories there. That Kerry Monaghan game, it was a heat wave, it was a glorious day, it was a sunny Sunday afternoon. There was so much on the line. Every time the ball was kicked, every time there was a hand pass, every time there was a 50-50 ball, there'd be a sharp intake of breath. They were sighs of relief, screams of joy, screams of despair. It had everything you needed for a match. And isn't it awful that as we're thinking about games, we can only think of a handful that come to the top of your head that had that kind of atmosphere before maybe a semi-final or an All-Ireland final. There has, I don't know what the answer is, but there has to be a way to try and create that atmosphere earlier and earlier in the season. Like you said, kick it off with a bang and give people a reason to get up and go and drive to the other end of the country, because they know they'll be entertained. Because it's called a spade. It's an expensive day out. If a family, say if mom and dad and two kids hit the road from, say that Kerry game went up to Clonus, they probably stayed the night before, maybe the night of the match, put diesel in the car, feed everyone, take time off work maybe if you're going to stay over the Sunday night. You're going to factor these things in when you're making these decisions. If it's going to be something, if it's not going to be an interesting game, you're not going to be entertained, why would you do it?
Kiefer Moore has gone very close for Wales to scoring, but it's still goalless between Wales and Switzerland in the European Championship in Baku. Cork 6 points, Westmeath 8 in the Division 2 relegation playoffs. Cavan 3 points, Wicklow 3 points, and Navan in that Division 3 relegation playoff. I'm sure you'll be taking an interest in Louth and Carlow. How's Mickey been doing, Wayne?
Yeah, well, I don't know how he's been doing apart from results wise, but I think that they've been doing well. I think they will have enough. Well, I'm hoping to have enough to beat Carlow today. In the last two games, they have produced really good second half performances against Leitrim and Sligo. So if they can produce a more rounded performance today for the full hour or the hour and 10 minutes, I think they'll be okay, and they will beat Carlow. But yeah, look, to say that the young players of Louth will benefit from somebody like Mickey's experience is an understatement. So I think they're in good hands, in fairness.
Who's impressed you in the Football League so far, Wayne?
Yeah, just the usual. I think the fact that Kerry come out all guns blazing and David Clifford is making the headlines again and Paul Geeney's back in the scene. I think they really impressed me. Clifford's goal in one of the games, soccer style, was brilliant and got everybody talking. And so I'm really hoping they can kick on now. It's interesting to see what happens this weekend against Tyrone. That'll be a big test. But I'm just hoping that Kerry, as much as I like and admire the Dubs, I'm just hoping that Kerry can push on and really challenge them this year.
I never thought hurling was broken as my favourite sport, and for many years it wasn't. And suddenly I'm kind of reading every day that there's issues with the advantage rule, there's issues with fouling, there's issues with the size of the weight of the slitter and the grooves in the slitter. What happened, Maire Treasa? Where did it all go wrong? Because we're not really talking about the matches at the moment.
Well, did it all go wrong, or is it just people are complaining when they don't like rules being applied? I mean, I've found it very interesting during the week. Was it James Scahill? You had him on OTB AM. He was talking about how he weighed the slitters and all that kind of stuff, and there is no difference. So maybe instead of let's take a devil's advocate view on this. Instead of complaining about all the things that are wrong with it, and take a look at ourselves and maybe stop fouling, and stop going in. We've been told now this is how the rules are. So why are so many teams persisting with older tactics that are now going to get you ticked, that are now going to get you yellow cards, and just focus on the game in hand and play the ball and not the man? And people say that's not what hurling's about. It's a warrior game. And that's true to a point. And I think maybe of all the sports, hurling has suffered for not having crowds. And I think perhaps we'll see less of this complaining once crowds start filtering back to grounds.
Why is that? Why do you think that is, Maire, Treasa?
I think it's because, players get, you can make decision-making issues, and all of a sudden people are less careful where they place the ball, and becomes 50-50 balls. It becomes contested. People are going for the air for the ball at the same time. People make more mistakes. It gives you more opportunity to create a bit of chaos, a bit of problems with decision-making, and all of a sudden it makes a game very exciting, and it gives maybe, people... I don't know how to explain it. I just feel like it needs a crowd, and I think hurling has suffered more as a result. I do think as well, maybe once crowds are going to matches, people will have less opportunity to be sitting around ruminating about the ruination of hurling, because they'll get to go there in real life and see it. And I also think as well as that, another reason why people are talking about the ruination of hurling is that to call, this year in particular, Yarra, 'tis only the league, is really appropriate. It really is only the league when it comes to hurling. So the players who are out there playing at the moment in the league, they're not the teams you're going to see in championship, and they're not going to be the tactics, and the intensity is going to increase. It has to, because why would people go out all guns blazing this year when they didn't have to? They've kept things, like even we saw last week, Limerick, you can see them just slowly winding up to be on fire just when they absolutely need to. So teams that are firing on all cylinders now won't be when it really matters, you'd imagine, but are any of them firing at the moment? I don't think so, and I think that's the root of a lot of the complaining as well. Players, it's not that players aren't giving 10 out of 10, but there's no impetus to have to be giving 10 out of 10. So that's part of it. We can kind of sense that malaise in the air as well, and we start complaining about the hurling then.
Gavin, I just wish everybody would leave hurling alone.
I think Maire Treasa is 100% right there, though. Of all the sports, of all the empty stadiums, Semple Stadium with no people just changes the way the game is played. It changes the energy of it. I think hurling has suffered more than most sports, because hurling crowds do have more of an effect on momentum in matches, I think, than any other sport have been.
And Wayne, would you be of a similar opinion?
Yeah, I think on the rule changes, I think you have to really have a really considered sort of, not necessarily long-term opinion, but more of a medium-term opinion on whether the rules work, or about the slitters and, the different rules that they introduce. You have to be considered and say, look, let's see where we are after a full season. Of course, the crowds, I think it affects the football games just as much in terms of atmosphere, especially when you get to the big football games. But the crowds are a significant factor. But I don't subscribe to the fact that we're going to have a boring summer in the hurling. I think there's still going to be epic games, hopefully perhaps towards the end, maybe with some sort of capacity in the stadium. But just be considerate about it, and let's see where we are at the end of the year. But I'm not a hurling man, but I'll be watching all the big games. You can be sure of that.
So you were watching Djokovic and Nadal. Where did it rank in terms of their great matches that they've had, Gavin?
The third set was certainly as good as anything you'll see between them over the years. And you could feel that Nadal was finally, because he's unbeatable, obviously, on clay, And in the third set, he looked, one of the commentators meant, I've never seen Nadal look tired. You always see Djokovic looking tired, but it doesn't matter. He just keeps plugging along. He's a machine. But Nadal looked flushed. He looked wrecked, in that third set. And it felt like a kind of a changing of the guard moment a little bit. And Djokovic, we all love to hate, is going to go on and break all the records now, probably, which is just it's there for him because of age. But it's right up there with any of the epics you could ever watch. Yeah, it was just phenomenal.
Barbara Krejcikova against Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova is underway, the women's final. I got the names right. 1 game all in the first set. Are you a tennis head, Maire Treasa?
I've been to Wimbledon twice, actually.
Did you have to
really
queue?
Enjoyed it. No, this is where I'm elite for once in my life. When TG Cahill had the television rights at the time, you were allowed to apply as the host broadcaster for tickets. Obviously, you paid for them, you paid full face value, but you were allowed to apply for kind of a separate raffle that would get you tickets, so you didn't have to queue. So we swanned past the queue, and even better, not only do you swan past the queue, but I didn't realise there's a queue for the queue. So there's a queue for the queue, and then you get into the official queue, and then you get inside. And then even when you get inside, you're getting different tickets for different areas. So I had tickets for centre courts. I was there for matches when the roof is closed and the roof is open. It's a great atmosphere. It's a great day out. Yeah, there's something hypnotic about tennis, a bit like snooker. You don't have to be an expert in it to get sucked in very, very quickly and enjoy it. And it's so tactical, it's so enduring, it's so hard on the mentality of the players who are participating in it. A bit like golf as well, actually. You kind of see all the struggles of human character play out over a period of a few hours and see people grow into it and see people wilt. It's fascinating. It's amazing. I love watching it. But I was lucky enough as well, anytime I went, the weather was glorious. It was the typical Wimbledon day. I'd recommend anyone, if you ever get the opportunity to go, it's a great experience. Even if you have no interest in tennis, you will genuinely have a wonderful day out. And we were giving out earlier about the English football team. Wimbledon is just the very best of British. Like, you'll ever be ever so polite. Everything is ever so clean. Everything is ever so spiffing. And you'll have glass after glass of Pimm's. It's magical.
I thought you were going to say Robinson's Barley Water there for a second.
Not at all. Go hard or go home.
Yeah. It's interesting to, I think you're a golf fan, Wayne, are you?
Yeah, I am, yeah. I'm playing a lot more golf this year than I have in the last few years, so yeah, I love it.
Fiona Maguire, that's some story, isn't it? Second at halfway and tied for second at the latest LPGA event, 135 weeks, #1 amateur in the world. And I think she's now making the grade in the LPGA Tour to the degree now that she can win tournaments. And after that, who knows?
Unbelievable achievement. And, you know, I think she's really going to be going on the up. And, you know, I think Irish golf's in a pretty decent place at the minute. Like with Shane Lowry's good showing recently in the USPGA and, you know, and another tour event. So, yeah, I think it's really good. And, you know, what I find fascinating in the golf world at the moment, talking about rivalries, is that there's a really nice one heating up between Koepka and DeChambeau, and I think everybody's interested to see how that'll pan out. So, big interest in the golf.
That's almost like WWE, isn't it? I'm almost wondering, Gavin Cummiskey, if Brooks and Bryson are just laughing together themselves and they close the door.
As soon as every time that headline pops up between the two of them, I just flick on straight away. No interest.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe it is, yeah. But I haven't got past the second paragraph yet of that little debate in golf.
Really, I love it. I just love it. Maybe it's the gossip hound in me. I just love the drama. I see it and I click into it.
Did they actually hate each other, or is it real? Yeah, it's genuine.
It looked real.
Real or not. It did look real, didn't it, Wayne?
It looked real in the recent little spot when he was walking behind him in an interview, and he generally looked peeved off. Let me say that he was walking past mumbling, but yeah, look, it's all about the rivalries. Is it? These guys have massive egos, and when one of them rubs one of the other ones up the wrong way, I think it's compelling, but we'll see what happens.
And even like the passive aggressive tweeting between them, like I can't remember which, but they were going back and forth, and then one of them says, you know, glad to see him living rent free in your brain, bro. It's just or in your head. Like, I just think there's definitely something there, I think. I mean, the pair of them could be laughing all the way to the bank about us because, you know, we're all of a sudden getting interested in golf where, you know, let's face it, it's been losing viewership. People haven't been sticking with it as long as they used to the point now where it talks about making, you know, see any way we can speed things up to get the young ones. Because, you know, all we do now these days is watch TikTok. We haven't got the stickability. But this kind of stuff makes you stick and it makes you interested and compelled. And that's the thing with all sports. It doesn't matter what sport it is. You need characters and you need story arcs and storylines. And these guys, whether they want to or not, they're providing it.
We will see in the Ryder Cup whether they're going to get on with each other or not. So that'll be interesting.
I wouldn't say it's McEnroe O'Connors to a degree. It's a little bit like that. It's not wonderfully entertaining, but it is more I suppose, fun than what you'd normally see with golfers, which is very, very almost a syrupy, genteel way of going about their business, when actually they're quite individual and they quite live in a bubble, and there's a selfishness to golf. So look, if it gets golf to as you say, the TikTok generation, more Treasa, I don't think it's a bad thing. I do think it's a little bit of hot air, and I don't think it's really that serious, the spat between the pair of them. I'm just given your rugby background, Gavin, as well, interested in your views on the Lions. Are you buzzed about it or excited about it? What are you expecting the next few weeks in terms of the prep for the Lions and what we'll see? I'm obviously I love my rugby, but I've never been enthused by the Lions, by British and Irish Lions coming together for this. It's like the games itself will be brilliant, but it's just one big marketing. It's all the bad things about sport, one big fat brand. But once the games get started, as usual, it'll be extremely compelling. It'll be really interesting. I think when Andy Farrell lands just before the Test series, I don't know if that's confirmed yet. That'll be really, really. He'll bring a huge element that Irish rugby needs to have their head coach there, especially when there's so many others, because they definitely missed out on a couple of key players like James Ryan is not going because there was no Irish voice in the selection room. So that's important. But yeah, again, it's like what Wayne said. He's watching his Liverpool lads in the England team. Like, that's the way it is. You're watching your Irish lads in the Lions team. In that sense, it'll be very interesting. And it'll be a sneak peek into what Pro 16 rugby will look like next year. Like, when you see the body count and the injuries, it'll be on a whole other level, because, as we know, South Africans are the biggest humans that we've still probably exist on the planet. But both teams are completely undercooked. South Africa are actually probably, for the first time ever on the Lions tour, the host nation. South Africa are probably in a worse state preparation-wise than the Lions, who are cobbling together now, because they haven't played a game of rugby since the 2019 World Cup final, which is kind of shocking when you think about it as far as preparation goes. But they're going to stay with more or less that team, except for Tendai Matuara, who's retired. I'm interested to see how it goes. The thing about a Lions, it's always, a Lions tour can go badly wrong. Like 2005 is a great example, really easily. That's why they try to stick with so many things like a Warren Gatland, something that's consistent. So there's almost a club mentality, so you can get the things up and running. But it can be lopsided very quickly. Like, the Lions could get it, or always have the possibility of getting it badly wrong and the whole thing being a flop. But the last three tours have been excellent. So yeah, excited when the games start. Absolutely. We'll enjoy England and Croatia tomorrow. Gavin, Maire, Treasa and Wayne, I know you'll be watching. Yeah, sure. Yeah, hopefully Croatia win. And thanks for joining us on the Saturday panel review in the week. Take care, folks.
Bye.
Gavin Cummiskey, Wayne Kierans and Maire Treasa reviewing the sporting week here on Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk. Will O'Callaghan will join me after the break to talk about the Euros.
Off the Ball on News Talk. Screen time.
Rhys Shearer